Well, I was supposed to be here embarrassing myself. Here I am with this freaking turkey hat that just came in. But let's go ahead. Let's dive into some actual fantasy updates that we have. So don't care about Tutu Atwell. Don't care about Dermicado. But Marvin Harrison and Trey Benson both officially do not practice on Wednesday. Now, I have Trey Benson in a lot of underdog basketball drafts. So for the love of God, my friend, please play. I need to eventually make sure that you are actually good at the game of football, and we have no confirmation on that just yet. So it'd be really nice to get Benson back this week. Not a great matchup, but hopefully we see him. We probably won't. Now, going to the Marv situation. If Marv does play, I'm not that excited to put him in my lineup. Now, if Marv ends up missing, obviously, we know, in that case, you want to go ahead and you want to start Michael Wilson. Let's go ahead and see if we have anything else that is interesting. So Aaron Jones does get in a limited practice. I honestly thought that Aaron Jones is going to be missing a decent amount of time and Jordan Mason could potentially be startable. Looks like maybe I was wrong. Maybe this Aaron Jones injury wasn't as serious as I initially thought it was going to be. So if that is the case, then all of a sudden Jordan Mason has no appeal. So just that will be interesting to note. But for him to get into practice on Wednesday, especially him being the vet, I didn't expect that. Woody Marks does not practice on Wednesday. Jaden Daniels gets in a limited session. The Woody Marks situation is going to be very important to monitor tomorrow, but he's playing the Chiefs. You don't want to play him regardless. Mike Evans gets in a limited practice. So there's a very realistic shot that Mike Evans is not back this week. I'd be surprised if he is back this week, but that he makes a difference in the fantasy playoffs. He makes a difference in like an underdog basketball tournament if a team was able to sneak him in. See, Jaden Reed gets in a limited practice. He very realistically could be back this week. Olave doesn't practice. I'd probably expect Olave to play, but we'll see. And then Alvin Kamara does not practice, which for me, I am going to be expecting that Kamara probably does play, but and it looks like that should be about it. I actually, Kamanungai, Romadunze, neither of them practice, but I would expect, honestly, both of them are probably good to go. Justin Herbert doesn't practice. I'd probably expect that he misses. But let me go ahead, swing this around, ladies and gentlemen. Just give me 1 second. And yeah, let's go ahead. I know we have some questions that we need to dive through. Hopefully we are able to answer them all for y'all. But this one, Power Branch here for the flex spot between Kenneth Walker, Devin Neal, John Mechie, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Garrett Wilson. We're going to assume that St. Brown, Garrett Wilson don't play. You probably honestly go Kenneth Walker in a game where they could probably run the ball. Our next name is going to be Deuce Stern, I believe. Here, quarterback, we are looking at Jared Goff versus Joe Burrow. Goff has a much better matchup, but you have no Laporta as well as no Amon-Ra St. Brown. The Lions project to score more points, but I honestly think they do a lot of that on the ground. So I'd probably go ahead and take Burrow. Wide receiver between Rice and Drake London, you play Rice. And then in the flex, you probably play Bucky Irving. Now, Riff Raff says, playoff week, we need a flex. Bam's on the waiver wire. What are your thoughts? I would not go with Bam if we could avoid it. Like, I would play Devin Neal over him, and I'd play Olave. Actually, I'd probably go Olave and Pittman. And then if Olave were to miss, you pivot over to Devin Neal if you have no Kamara. And then if Kamara plays and Olave misses, you pivot over to Christian Watson. But honestly, I don't really have much interest in Bam on the waiver wire regardless. It's a tough matchup. He's not a good running back, and he wouldn't have the entire backfield anyway. Now, McDowell here at quarterback between Mahomes and Goff. I'm going to go Mahomes. It's a horrible matchup playing the Houston Texans. The Lions project to score 6 more points this week, but I think, one, Mahomes is going to run the ball more than Goff. I wouldn't be surprised with the playoffs on the line. Mahomes goes out there and runs the ball like crazy. And also, I think that you're going to see a lot of Jahmyr Gibbs and a lot of David Montgomery in that Lions game. Going over to running back between Kamara and Kamani Vidal. I think the expectations are Kamara doesn't play and Amari Hampton does. So the correct answer here is neither. Now, if Kamara plays, you go Kamara. If not, you pivot to Vidal. And then wide receiver, you have no Wandale. Quentin Johnston, I'm going to assume, actually has Trey Lance under center. So I'd plan on going Christian Watson, Adonai Mitchell, and Xavier Worthy. If Justin Herbert starts, you can take out Xavier Worthy and put in Quentin Johnston. Now, Bitter Hornet says, running back 2 issues for the playoffs. Is Rico a viable RB2? We don't have many options besides Marks. The waiver wire is Singletary, Algier, Spears, and not much else. So I had previously thought, my guy, that Rico Dowdle was an absolute jam. So obviously, here's the lineup for the playoffs, right? Obviously, we have a couple of these guys on week 14 bye. Honestly, it's trending towards you possibly playing Terry McLaurin here in the flex. I know you were already through your bye week, but if you could send like Woody Marks and Dowdle, like for now, Dowdle is your running back 2. I would love to send like Zay Flowers with Dowdle to get an upgrade, Woody Marks with Dowdle to get an upgrade if we could, but it's too late. If we were looking at waiver wire pivots that you can make, honestly, there are none. Especially now that we have the positive news with Tyrone Tracy, so Singletary's not as exciting. I had thought previously Rico Dowdle was a must-start running back. Every single week he was a starter, he had scored at least 15 fantasy points until the past 2 weeks. Over the past 2 weeks, he scored like a combined 20. So it's been horrible. It doesn't exactly look like it's getting much, much better. But out of those options, I would say you probably have to plan on rolling with Dowdle. Trying to think if there's anything else you could do. I mean, if you wanted, I know you already said that like Jaden Reed's on your IR. I would say like if you could pick up a player like Tyler Algier just on the off chance, if you were to get an injury, to like Bijan Robinson, then all of a sudden Tyler Algier could turn into a must-start name. But I don't see, like, I don't want you to drop, like, here's what I would actually do if I were you. If Algier's out there on the waiver wire, I would drop Brian Robinson for Algier this week. Just because you have CMC on bye, so nothing's going to happen with CMC getting injured this week. And then if Bijan were to go down, bam, you've hit on a league winner. And if Bijan stays healthy, then you drop Tyler Algier and you pick up the Brian Robinson again next week. But that most likely doesn't change anything, right? It just gives you another out at potentially doing it. Okay. Now, let's send you over some free questions to make sure if there's anything in the playoffs you need help with. Sammy Stacks coming in here. Oh, you were finally clearing 6 feet tall. You love to see it. That is true, brother. That is true. And I just added a thumbnail. I believe there's a thumbnail now. Bitter Hornet says, flex wide receiver in the playoffs. Do we bench Dowdle? I grab Mason off the waiver wire, flex him this week, or Jaden Higgins. So this week you're starting Chase Brown and Bijan Robinson. Wide receiver, Jamo Rice. Tight end, Tyler Warren. So this week, if Aaron Jones were to miss, you would go ahead and you'd play Jordan Mason. If Aaron Jones were to play, you would play Jaden Higgins. And it's going to be extremely difficult to know in week 15 if you're going to want to start Wan'Dale Robinson or Rico Dowdle. That would be effectively the question here. My gut reaction as of right now is to tell you to go ahead and plan on going Dowdle, but obviously that's no guarantee. Now, Bitter Hornet says, in the playoffs, this is tough to get T off the IR. Do we leave him on the IR this week, then drop Mason next week, or drop Brian Robinson or Jaden Higgins? Okay. So here's the thing. You can, again, I know we already looked at this team and we kind of already discussed this to an extent. Like, your starting lineup this week is garbage because the week 14 buys, but I think most likely Higgins is going to play this week. So I think what I would do if I were you is, again, we don't want to take Jaden Reed. Jaden Reed would be cuttable. I would cut Jaden Higgins before. So you could drop Brian Robinson just with McCaffrey on bye. Obviously, like we already discussed, McCaffrey's not getting injured this week. And if, I don't know. If you drop Brian Robinson this week, see what Jaden Higgins does against the Chiefs. And then if Jaden Higgins blows up, cool. We'll hold on to him. And if he has a disappointing performance, then you can cut him and pick Brian Robinson right back up. But here's the thing with Brian Robinson. He has the week 14 bye, so McCaffrey's not going to get injured this week. So you know you're not starting him in week 15. So absolute best case scenario for Brian Robinson, he's in your lineup week 16. Now, Bitter Hornet says Chuba, 80 Mitchell on the waiver wire in this league. I would cut Singletary for Chuba, based off the word that we just got with Tyron Tracy. Then Rice, Jamos in your lineup. I would cut Singletary for Chuba, and I'd cut Jaden Higgins for Adonai Mitchell. And then I'd probably start Adonai Mitchell this week in your flex. But, ooh, looks like we got to log out and log back in. Super fun. That should not be an issue anymore. Are you kidding me? There's no way that is an issue still. Ooh. This super fun, ladies and gentlemen. All right, let me go ahead and log out, log back in one more time. You got to be kidding me here. All right. Now we're back. Now we are back. All right. Now, JC Giac. Here at wide receiver. You play Igbuka, Tedder McMillan on bye. Mars probably not going to be. You play Igbuka and Christian Watson. There's a good shot I'll play Christian Watson even if Marv does play. Okay. Now, Isaiah says, a win and 35 points more than get me in. I need a boom week. All right. So we are chasing the upside. Genty, Judkins, easy plays at running back. Judkins will actually project out well this week because of the matchup. Tight ends, probably Fannin to be honest. And then here at wide receiver, A.J. Brown, Sutton, Rome Odunze in one flex. And then I'd go Adonai Mitchell in the other flex. Probably not going to have Benson. Benson missed practice today. Henderson's on bye. Tedero McMillan's on bye. So it's Isaac Tesla or A.D. Mitchell. And I would go A.D. Mitchell, even if Jaden Reed plays. Okay. Now, Kylie says, need two wide receivers out of Rome, Dobbs, and Tesla. thanks. I'd go Rome and Dobbs. What are the projections for Tesla? I know it's not Tesla. I know you say it weird, but I can't remember how to say it. Higher, lower, 35 and out receiving yards. Yeah, not interested. Okay, now Luxus, here at wide receiver, you play Jefferson. Y'all aren't going to believe this, but the Minnesota Vikings have an implied team total of 22.5 points. And then here in the flex, I'm going to assume that Kamara doesn't play and you're going to play Devin Neal. Kamara plays, so you can pivot over to Jacoby. Now, James P. the Mod, always happy to see you, my friend. Here between Debo, Sutton, and Metcalf, I do have Debo as the guy, even if you were to have no Jaden Daniels, which are, I think you will have Mariota as the quarterback this week. Now, FF Dominguez, here for the flex. Benson in practice. Bucky's back, so Rachaad White honestly could cut. I would play Troy Franklin and Jaden Higgins, but I know a lot of people would tell you to play Isaac Tesla over Jaden Higgins. Now, JG here at running back. RJ Harvey, kind of an auto start. Wide receiver, I'd probably plan on Michael Wilson. Monroe St. Brown's not going to play. And then in the flexes, I think you go Devin Neal and Kenneth Walker. And if Kamara plays, you pivot over to Woody Marks. But again, based off Trey Benson missing practice today, I don't think Benson plays. Okay. Now, Furon, here at wide receiver, Sutton and Rome, like easily over Worthy. Keenan, like Keenan's not startable. I know Devon Valet is like interesting, but you would never start him over players like Sutton and Rome. And Keenan's not startable with Trey Lance as the quarterback. Okay. Now, Mr. Filthy Wub says 10-3 second place to have the depth to send this trade. Bijan to Achane, slight downgrade / lateral move. You're selling Terry McLaurin and Devonta Smith to CeeDee Lamb, massive upgrade. Value-wise, give me the Achane and Lamb side easily. It's a 12-team start 8 format. Leftover at wide receiver, you'd start Lamb, Pittman. Running back, you'd start Taylor, Achane. Flexes, you'd have Jawan Jennings and Trey Benson if he plays. If not, Jawan Jennings and Zach Charbonnet. So I'll say the value side is for sure on the Devon Achane, CeeDee Lamb end of things. Now, with that being said, if you wanted to go through and I don't know. If you believe that you can pick up some players off the waiver wire, guys like Adonai Mitchell that are playable in the flex spot for your league, so I think you could go for it there because, again, the value is undoubtedly on your side. Now, C. Johnson's trading away a future first for a future second. Henderson to James Cook, Marv to A.J. Brown, and I would rather have the Henderson future first and Marv side if this is a Dynasty League. I think there's a very good argument to be made. Trevion Henderson's worth more than James Cook this offseason. So obviously, if you were a contending team and you thought that the James Cook, Chase Brown side wins you the league, I'm not going to fault you for going for it, of course. But in terms of long-term value in Dynasty, I'm pretty confident that the Trevion Marv in 2026 first side is going to be more valuable come this offseason. Okay. Now, Monty here for the flex. It's either Jalen Warren or Deebo Samuel. Full PBR format. I honestly think you could go Deebo. Now, mine are low here at running back between Henderson's on bye. Kamani Vidal is a backup now. Jordan Mason, it looks like Aaron Jones is going to play. So I think you go Kyle Monunga, assuming he plays and Aaron Jones does as well. And then the flex is Deebo Samuel pretty easily. But here, let me take a screenshot of this for the devs. If it's not letting you ask a start set question, can you please screenshot what it's doing and send it in the side issue section of the Discord? That would help the devs fix your problem a lot, to be honest. Okay. Now, Abomination, here running back. You go Hampton over Charbonnet easily. And then in the flex, it's either Rome Odunze or Jacoby Myers. And honestly, I think you can go Jacoby. I'm not playing Sharps. And then obviously Daddle's on bye. Then JC Max, here for the flex. It's Rome Odunze, Alec Pierce, Godwin, or Kai. You got Kyron, right? Yeah, you go Kyron Williams easily. Especially in a good matchup. Okay. But let me see how many likes we're at and see if we need to send out some free questions. We did not hit 100, but it's all right. I will be live tomorrow, of course, answering questions. And again, I want to reiterate that the site just had a bunch of big updates. So please, if y'all have any problems at all, send them in the site issues section of the Discord so the devs can see them. And or email them to support@flockfantasy.com. Because obviously we want to get all your issues resolved ASAP. And if you're having the issue, most likely somebody else is as well. So if you can send that out, that'll be super useful. So yeah, we can get those solved for you. But I really appreciate you. And yeah, thank you so much for everything, ladies and gentlemen. And I hope I get to see you out in the live stream tomorrow night.